Well, hey there everyone. I'm Kaye here on my homestead in Tennessee. If you're new here, I live on a little over 9 acres in Middle Tennessee on a hill, which is mostly rock, but I've developed big gardens. I grow a lot of my own food, preserve it. I do one-pot meals in the kitchen, medicinal plants, gardening with cats, rain capture, and so much more. If that interests you, I hope you subscribe, click the bell for notifications, scroll down and click all so you won't miss an episode. Well, today, we're pushing into October, and we need to be thinking about how we're going to take care of our container plants for the winter. Are you going to go inside with them? Are you going to put them in the yard? Or a combination of both? So today we'll talk about lemongrass, which you want growing in your yard. It's so beautiful. It smells wonderful. Deer don't particularly like it, and so many more reasons medicinally to grow lemongrass, not to mention lemongrass tea, essential oil, and so forth. So we're going to harvest the lemongrass, but I can't even get to it yet because it's hiding back behind my cranberry hibiscus. We had a storm last night. That's another reason we need to start thinking about our container plants. I put everything up against the garage doors, and yet the huge cranberry hibiscus, most of the middle just broke off. So that's got to be taken care of before I can get the lemongrass out. So stay with me. I actually did a pruning of this plant about a month ago, and it was a great video. I'll put the link right up there, check it out. And I took several branches. They're rooting over here in a 5-gallon bucket, and I am drying more branches inside. They're already dry almost, for tea. And so now there's going to be a lot more, I'm afraid, because there's no repairing this. I actually broke a big branch off before that video and repaired it in that video. Let me get some of these branches out of here. We'll pull the plant out, and then you can see the lemongrass. Is the lemongrass. We're going to prune off all of these nice green leaves, but we're going to keep the stems, because the stems you can cut into like 1 or 2 inch pieces and make tea, and these stems still look good. So I'm going to trim off all of the old stuff, put that in the compost, and then we're going to take these leaves and I'm going to tie them in bundles and hang them up in my dining room and let them dry. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to cut these stems at the ground level. They almost look like they come out in bunches. You see what I mean? There's like one here, one here, one here, one here. We're just going to cut all of that off. And when I get it out, I'll separate it from the old stuff. It's not quite to the ground. That smells so good. If you just wanted to grow this in this pot next year, you could just really heavily mulch this and leave it outside for the winter, and it would very likely come back. It depends on your zone. But since it's questionable here, I am going to take this entire root ball and divide it up, and I'm going to plant several individual pieces of it out. No green at all, just the root ball, and plant it in the garden and heavily mulch it, and hopefully it'll come back in the spring. And meanwhile, I'm going to do the same thing with 2 or 3 that I'm going to carry into my sunroom, just in a small container for the winter. As you can see, this is very root bound. It should have been potted up a long time ago. I just sharpened my blade this morning, so I have to be careful. There's our, and I'm assuming this can probably just come straight out. Yep, that is crazy. It looks like an alien. Hello. Okay, so we're going to leave this for the moment, and I'm going to clean up the lemongrass, tie it into bundles, and you'll see what I'm going to do. Here we are. Wow, I just realized a lot of these plants came from one place. 3 places actually. The geraniums and the coleus came from Jamie, and I bought the lavender, and then this begonia is not looking so good. I think it's about done for the year. That's from my friend Mary Jane. What I'm going to do is, I've got all this in a bucket here so that it's easy to access, and I'm going to have a sip of my cacao and raw honey. It's local honey. This is a brand new mug. Well, I've opened the box. I've had the box of 12 mugs for probably a year and a half, and I never opened them because I had a couple in there, and I finally gave away my last 2. So this is made by Kaye Pottery on Instagram. She has a lovely card, and she puts one in each mug. And so I have 12 that say homestead. I was down to just gardener. I started out with gardener. Okay, so what we're going to do is, I'm going to take my very sharp scissors. You know what? I think I'm just going to cut off the really big chunk, and I'm going to get 5 or 6 of these and tie them into a bunch. So that looks a little sketchy, and that looks sketchy, and that looks sketchy. Okay. I took my umbrella down for the storm. You know, not everybody has the funds to buy a dehydrator, and so the great thing about you can just hang up these herbs to dry in your dining room. When I was up in Idaho, I went to Lou's place. You saw me mention her in a video. And she had, of course it was perfect. She had a round dinner table, and at each place setting, she had a little tin pan that was about 1 inch high around the edge. And she had different herbs drying in each one around this 6 or 8 person table. And I just thought, oh, if my life were that organized, I would just love it. But I never managed that. Never managed that perfection. So, okay, that looks like a good bundle. Let's start with that. And what I'm going to do is just tie these together and hang them up. And then, when they're dry, I'm going to cut them just above the joint. And that way all of this will be cut in pieces and put into a large jar for, for storage with an oxygen absorber. And I actually have one in there, but these harvested leaves are only good for about a year. I mean, I'm sure you could use them farther, but you still want them to be fragrant. Hey, no fighting. there's 6 chairs spot. You don't have to have the one she's on, right? Think about it. The other one's right there. Hey, you've got 100 trees out there to scratch. You don't have to scratch my chair. It is my chair. You know. Okay, so hopefully that's not too heavy to hold it up. I think that will work. All right. That's the idea. I forgot to tell you that my new friend, but longtime late bloomer fan, Angie, sent me this plant either last year or the year before, and I put it in that pot. And like so many other things, it just never got, you know, dealt with as it should have. And so she was advising me on the best way to do this. So this is per her instructions. Been broken at least twice, maybe 3 times. Major things were going down that way and down this way, and I couldn't see how it would make a pretty anything. So I'm going to just leave this and see what happens. This entire pot is root bound, so never know. These are going to go in my dining room to dry for tea. Over here I have another bucket. of the big branches in water. I've got 2 more buckets over there, some of which have roots, and I'm going to put the ones I'm going to take inside the sunroom for the winter. I'm going to go ahead and pot those up right now. Okay, so I've got 5 of these that have a few roots here, but the roots start here. This is all like mushy, so I'm cutting that off because the pot's only this deep anyway. Okay, so we have 5 bundles here, and that's going to keep me in lemongrass for a while. I'm going to take these inside and hang them up by the strings, either in the garage or in the dining room. When these are dry, then I'll preserve them as I mentioned. And also, I'm going to jump to the next video to deal with the root ball and show you how I'm taking care of all that. So I hope you'll come back for that, and I hope you will subscribe if you haven't already. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Kaye here, and God bless.